Andrew is a 16-year-old male in Year 10 from Mornington Peninsula and is highly motivated to continue to participate in his physical activity as a means to create good habits in the future. He has previously participated in soccer competitions with his friends outside of school and an HPE class within school. These activities have helped Andrew gain good all-round motor skills and have increased his confidence in his physical ability. Living in the peninsula means that Andrew has to catch a bus to travel the 10 kilometres to his school. His geographic location in regards to his school needs to be taken into consideration when Andrew thinks about using fitness centres and sporting facilities around him. He will need to be able to travel to these facilities either before or after school without missing time from classes. He is interested in doing some resistance training, however his novice stage in this area of physical activity will need to be considered before Andrew partakes in training. A coach or trainer will need to take into account Andrew's zone of proximal development, of his prior knowledge of weights and resistance training and what he still needs to learn in order to partake in training independently. Moreover, the inclusion of resistance training in Andrew's routine will enhance his muscular strength and motor skills and will facilitate the strengthening of bones and the decreased potential of injuries from sport. Andrew's previous experiences with soccer will also allow him to feel and be competent in cardio-related physical activity. Cardio-based exercises should be related to soccer-based drills as a way to keep Andrew's motivation levels high, as he has no further motivation from his friends as they are not participating with him. Furthermore, to maintain peak motivation levels, Andrew's coach or trainer should be relatable to him and take into consideration Andrew's lack of external motivation and should work to encourage him to continue to exercise and create good habits for his adult life. He would have a relatively high physical ability through his participation in his HPE classes, soccer team and walking to the bus each day. Based on Andrew's participation in physical exercise at the moment, he would not meet the recommended amount of physical activity per day according to the guidelines. This is due to him no longer playing soccer and not really doing much else apart from participating in his HPE classes and walking to the bus. It is evident that Andrew is quite a confident and competent 16-year-old though, through his desire to be physically active and take up resistance training, along with him having the opportunity to take up a talent ID pathway for his soccer abilities. It can be seen that his motivations are significantly from the decision of his peers and wanting to play with his friends, as he turned down the talent pathway and no longer wants to play, or no longer will be playing soccer due to his friends no longer wanting to.
Andrew shows competence in his fitness knowledge. The introduction of resistance training to his regime highlights Andrew's ability to comprehend the need for lifelong physical activity, LLPA, and not just physical activity during your childhood. By Andrew acknowledging the need to increase his physical activity levels, he also understands the health benefits of physical activity, HBPA. Moreover, Andrew shows good self-management skills. These skills would have been taught to him via a pedagogical conceptual PE approach. Conceptual PE is a pedagogical approach used to teach physical activity and fitness. Brown, 2022. He not only recognises a decline in his current physical activity levels, but he has also thought of how he will increase his levels through resistance training. Furthermore, Andrew is at the highest level of the stairway, the independent stage, as shown here. He practices self-directed, healthy lifestyles by playing soccer with his friends. Also, he seeks to start some resistance training to ensure he stays healthy during year 11 and 12. Therefore, Andrew is successfully meeting the second stair of the independence level, which is achieving lifelong fitness, health, and wellness. However, Andrew could also be classified as being at the level of decision-making on the stairway, as shown here, as he is planning to be healthier but has not actually started this resistance training yet. Also, Andrew lives 10 kilometres away from his school. Therefore, every day he must walk 15 minutes to the bus stop and then catch the bus to school. His commute to school is very time-consuming. Therefore, as he approaches the last 2 years of school and begins to get more homework, the time Andrew has to train and be physically active will significantly decline. Hence, Andrew will be more likely to consistently train if he's given training sessions that are of high intensity and short duration.
The student will learn the muscular system through a resistance training circuit. The student will develop an understanding of the types of muscle contractions, such as isometric, eccentric, and concentric. The use of correct muscle terms will be used to allow the lesson to be contextually aligned. An understanding of the muscular system will allow more benefits to occur when training the system, such as how the body will return itself to homeostasis after exercising. The potential activities a student will undertake are lunges, squats, Russian twists, crunches, calf raises, push-ups, bicep curls, and RDL lifts. These can either be done with weight or without weight through a circuit. This is important as Andrew may not have any knowledge about the muscular system and resistance training in particular. This would allow him to participate in physical activity and gain the benefits while knowing what to do, which he can then take to outside of school and use for his sport, which is soccer. At each of the stations, the teacher will have a note of information for the exercise. This will outline the muscles used, the type of contraction, and how the muscle is working, such as the use of the sliding filament theory and agonist and antagonist muscles. This is a pedagogical approach allowing Andrew to meet the physical activity guidelines and benefits from lifelong physical activity participation through conceptual PE, as well as it being aligned with the wants and needs of the student, which is Andrew. This will also create interest in the lesson as it is aligned with what he wants to learn.
The unit that the students are focusing on today is training methods. By the end of the lesson, students will be able to apply the muscular system to resistance training. Some of the personal objectives that the students will need to be focusing on are things such as which muscles are used for the different exercises and an appropriate weight to use for each exercise. Some of the safety considerations that students need to be aware of are the correct technique, following teacher instructions, and appropriate weight. Before we get started into the main part of the lesson, we need to get our bodies warmed up. The best type of warm-up for the resistance training is dynamic stretching. This means we're moving our body in all different ways, therefore stretching different muscles. The teacher will call out different types of stretches for people to complete, such as arm rotations, lunge and twist, quad pulls. This will allow students to get an understanding of how the muscular system works through movement. The key teaching points and cues are using controlled motions when completing arm rotations. When completing a lunge and twist, making sure that we're standing tall with feet hip width apart. After explaining the warm-up, we would then describe why dynamic stretching is the better approach rather than static. In the lesson, we'll be completing the following exercises in a circuit format. They'll have 2 minutes to complete each exercise before you have to move on to the next one. So the exercises are lunges, squats, Russian twists, crunches, calf raises, push-ups, bench press, bicep curl, RDL lifts, and hip thrusts. A modification for lunges would be a side lunge. A modification for squats would be goblet squat. A modification for Russian twist would be a decline Russian twist. A modification for crunches could be bicycle crunches. A modification for calf raises would be seated calf raises. A modification for push-ups would be incline push-up. You can use a bench. A modification for a bicep curl would be a hammer curl. A modification for RDL lifts would be a single arm or single leg RDL. And the modification for hip thrust would be single leg hip thrust.